Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine. Kisumu is also fantastic. Maybe you could let me know where you are watching the video from. It's actually chilly, very chilly here today in Kisumu. And we don't have power. That's why I think the lightning, you might realize a bit of lightning problem with the quality of the video. William Samoei Arap Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, yesterday addressed the nation. And during that address to the nation, William Ruto made a passionate appeal to Raila Odinga to call off the Azimio Monday demonstrations. Later on, Raila Odinga also addressed the nation and he called off the demonstrations. And indeed, the country is very peaceful today. But there are several things that I observed yesterday. First of all, when William Ruto was addressing the nation, he was accompanied by Rigathi Gachagua. But you could tell from Rigathi Gachagua's body language that he was not a very happy man. Although when he was now leaving the press conference, he tried to project an image of someone who is or who was happy. His team have tried to explain, because Kenyans were like, Rigathi was not happy. His teams have actually tried to explain that Rigathi Gachagua was on his weekend attire. But again, if you look at the other side, Azimio side, I've studied the photos which emerged from yesterday's State of the Nation address. And clearly, almost all those principals were not happy. Beginning with Karua, Kalonzo, you could tell from their faces that Kioni, they were not happy with that particular announcement. Either they were coerced or they really didn't agree to postpone today's demonstrations. We are not going to go into that for now. Right now, I want us to look at a message which Rigathi Gachagua has delivered targeting Raila Odinga after that State of the Nation address. Before we do that, in case you are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. So please just click that subscribe button for this particular video, and also want to take this opportunity to thank those who have always supported this channel in one way or the other. And for those who would like to send coffee, that's the number which you can always use. Now, let us get back to the main issue. And let me take you straight to Rigathi Gachagua's Facebook page. Now, there is, first of all, there's this photo. This photo reminds me of, was it 2017? When Uhuru and Ruto were forming their government. Uhuru was reading the statement there. Ruto was standing behind. After that, handshake happened. And again, later on, William Ruto became the president. So I don't want to assume that that is what we are going to, that's not what's going to repeat itself here. That Ruto is going to betray Rigathi, but Rigathi is going to become the next president. I'm just saying. Yeah, you can see the photos which he has actually shared here, trying to portray image of someone who is serious. But let us get to the message which he's sending. Now, this is the message which Rigathi Gachagua is sending to Kenyans. That Kenya is a country of the rule of law. Violence and destruction of property has no place in our country. It will never be allowed under the leadership of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, now or in future. I salute Honorable Raila Odinga for calling off demonstrations and violence and choosing to pursue his issues in Parliament in accordance with the Constitution and the rule of law. Why would the Rigathi Gachagua term? Just listen, he's saying, I salute Raila Odinga for calling off demonstrations. You know, what Raila Odinga called were demonstrations, which are constitutional, but Rigathi is adding for calling off demonstrations and violence. You got that part? And it's continuing that and choosing to pursue his issues. He's now talking of Raila Odinga issues in parliament in accordance with the constitution and the laws of Kenya. That is statesmanship. As our president has stated, the government remains committed to protecting life and property tomorrow, the next day, next week, and next year. He's not even talking of the issues which the president talked about, the issues of the cost of living. For him, he's only concerned with something which he believes Raila Odinga was doing, protecting lives and property tomorrow, the next day, next week, and year to come. And based on the tone of this message, personally, I am convinced that Rigathi Gachagua was actually sending a coded message to Raila Odinga, to William Ruto, and to the country. Before we do that, I want to hear your opinion. Do you support the move by Raila Odinga to call off Mandamano? Because I've been going through timelines. Those who are against the demonstrations are the one now calling for the demonstrations. And those who are supporting the demonstrations are okay with it. But you as an individual, do you support Raila Odinga's move? Because I've been, a friend of mine, Michael Chenge, is a bit pissed off that Raila Odinga called these demonstrations. He had pushed the government, and as usual, he has now called his troops back, and that's not strategic. What is your own opinion? Let me read your comments, your thoughts in the comment section. Now back to Rigathi Gachagua's statement. For me, I've read that Rigathi Gachagua's statement almost 10 times. And the first thing which I think is trying to communicate is that this particular message by Rigathi Gachagua is not addressed to Kenyans. This message is not addressed even to Kenya Kwanza. But this message, Rigathi Gachagua is addressing specifically to his supporters, those who are supporting him. And his message is that, Raila Odinga has not won. We are going for a parliamentary initiative, not handshake. The handshake, the idea of handshake was actually a creation of Kenya Kwanza and people like Rigathi. Because Raila Odinga has been very clear that for him, he wanted only 3 issues to be addressed. And it was very clear that he was not going to enter into any handshake. If anything, Raila Odinga's politics was really hurt by that handshake. So you would not want to repeat. But Rigathi Gachagua is saying this as a message to his supporters. That's why he's saying, as our president has stated, the government remains committed to protecting life and property today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week, and years to come. And if you paid very close attention to what Rigathi is trying to say, it's actually saying that Kenya is a country of rule of law. Violence and destruction of property has no place. So for me, this message is directed at the people who support him. So that's number 2. I also tend to think that Rigathi Gachagua is trying so hard to portray an image of someone who is in charge. And that's why I stated that this message is actually meant for his supporters. Why would Rigathi Gachagua try so hard to explain that he was consulted, that he was in charge? On Saturday, William Ruto dispatched Rigathi Gachagua very far away to Kakamega. On that Saturday, William Ruto was making phone calls here, there. Rigathi Gachagua was busy in Kakamega, warning the opposition, preparing for Monday, warning how Monday was going to be the last day. And William Ruto was just there talking to these guys. When he emerged, he talked of my brother, my friend Raila, our friends in the opposition. And clearly, it means that Rigathi Gachagua had no option but to appear for that press conference. But Rigathi Gachagua is telling his supporters that we are in charge, I am in charge. And that's why he's saying it will never be allowed under the leadership of William Samoei Arap Ruto now and in the future. Again, in the last paragraph here, he's also saying protecting life and property today, tomorrow, the next day, next week, and years to come. You see, this just a single paragraph, he's repeated one thing almost 3 times. Because when you say that leadership will not be allowed under the leadership of Ruto now and in the future, that's just enough. Then you come again and you reiterate that tomorrow, the next day, next week, and years to come. You see, you're just repeating the same thing in a single paragraph. So basically, it's just out to prove that he's actually in charge. And the other thing which should worry Raila Odinga is the fact that Rigathi Gachagua is keen on portraying these demonstrations, which are part of our constitution, as violent and destructive. For me, what Rigathi Gachagua is trying to do is trying to justify police action. And know why he's justifying police action? Because he was the guy who was in charge when the mistakes happened. Someone was telling me that William Ruto was very bitter and very angry with Rigathi Gachagua, especially when Rigathi Gachagua decided to send the youths to attack or to raid Uhuru Kenyatta's private farm, and the way they handled the media and that particular individual who was just there on a mission. So Ruto was very angry, but Rigathi Gachagua is trying to justify that because these demonstrations were violent, because these demonstrations were destructive, the police had to come in, and they'll come in tomorrow, the day after today, something like that. So for me, he's just out to justify police action. And one of the demands which personally I think Raila Odinga ought to have put is the issue of the police. And the fourth thing which is coming out is that Rigathi Gachagua is basically showing the media the middle finger. What do I mean? You know, when Rigathi is talking the way he's talking, and you have a media in Kenya which was attacked, Rigathi Gachagua is not mentioning them at all, but he's only referring to these things as violent, destructive, and justifying police action. I think Rigathi Gachagua also just used this occasion to address the issue of the media. William Ruto, in his speech, was a bit presidential, if you ask me. That speech was presidential because I think the William Ruto's speech was meant for the international community and maybe the church. Yeah? But Rigathi Gachagua is showing the media middle finger. And lastly, I also tend to think that this tough message by Rigathi Gachagua is actually meant for Raila Odinga's demands. Raila Odinga issued a few demands. One of the demands was on the issue of arrest and prosecution of his supporters who participated in the demonstrations. And I know that the reference was to those who were arrested, like the ghetto president Gaucho, Makolonde, Nuru Okanga. You know, they were arrested. They were released on bond, so which means they are still being prosecuted. There are several others, people like Omosh, 1 hour, and you know, so many people have been arrested around, just rounded up, arrested, either because you are participating in the demos or you know you are part of the mobilizers. So many people are arrested. So Rigathi Gachagua is reiterating that for them they don't care. These guys will be charged. I don't know what you think. Thank you, guys. And you know, after yesterday's event, so many things took place. I'll want to go now and analyze Raila Odinga's statement in full, what I observed, the intrigues, the body languages of the guys there, what could have caused the delay of Raila Odinga coming out to address the nation. So for now, thank you and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.